To order, board members present, Nicole, myself, Ted, Nick, Steve, and Jack. No board members absent. We have no visitors present today. Can I please have the Scouts join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you again for inviting us. I'm Mike Serta. This is
TJ.
Hi.
I'm Adam. I'm Nick.
Tim Picard. James Craig.
all right.
Thanks for being here.
Scout salute. Hands in heart. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Two.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. I have nothing this evening for the president's report. Sorry.
I was.
Steve, any correspondence?
I have no correspondence.
Any CISA 2 updates?
The only thing, I've mentioned it before, CISA 2 is continuing to offer courses through the Department of Public Instruction. And I think I mentioned before that there's talk to have to offer courses so people can get either certified to be a teacher or to be a school administrator or counselor.
Sure.
Which I think is really great.
Alternative licensure
Right,
pathway.
Yep.
So about something about CISA 2 after this.
Okay.
Outstanding. Thank you. Nicole, any WASB updates?
Yep. There's a lot more words than it'll take to talk about, but quick legislative update, just of interest. 137 local school district referendums are on the ballot in 120 districts, which is pretty significant increase from all of last year when there were 82.
Is that for the fall?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Interesting.
When the 82 was throughout the year last year, right? And then the Joint Legislative Audit Committee decided to audit DPI's monitoring of school finances following issues at MPS. So that will be an interesting thing to follow. WASBO Money Talks webinar, I included the link here. There's also handouts. Vicki is going to send some information in the board update. But this is essentially a webinar discussing the enrollment tax levy and referendum, and it was highly informational. So I suggest everyone watch it. It's 55 minutes. And then for the September legal and legislative update, I linked that to WASB's website. It's also highly informative. There's some FAQs on referendum advocacy and committees. There are early literacy, Act 20 early literacy resources there, and then an updated election schedule since there's a lot of changes. And then the WASB update is just upcoming events if anyone's interested. The fall Region 13 event, there's an open meetings law workshop, and then a legislative advocacy seminar in November.
Has there been any discussion, either Vicki or Nicole, from Madison or the DPI or anything about with the number of referendums coming through and with that, why that is and some of the rationale behind that to tell the public? Have you seen any kind of thing happen with that or discussions?
I mean, a lot of what I see is really just due to funding.
Sure. But official from anything of the State Department kind of talking about that, because it's pretty significant.
I haven't seen anything about.
You're saying like the state acknowledging
Saying
the
the state-
financial
saying like,
way
hey,
we fund schools is
yeah, I
Not-
was curious on that one.
That's a good part, yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
No, I mean, they'll say, so one interesting thing in the WASBO Money Talks webinar is in the beginning of the referendum section, they actually show articles that are trying to advocate for the state's stance on like funding, but they explain how it's actually not accurate and it's misleading. And I think that is something everyone should pay attention to. But it's because that's like, when you say, is the state saying anything? It appears that they are, but they're not.
Well, and I'd say the point of that is if you look at this, that is the point, right?
Right.
You don't have to look between the lines whatsoever. This is the point. You have
Right.
137 schools in 120 districts. That should be the point driven home to everyone on that one, I'd say. So, okay.
Right. And I mean, I know that I'm blanking on John Humphrey's organization.
Oh, yeah, the equity one?
Yes.
I don't remember the title either, but I know John, yeah, that person.
So he is basically like, touring the state and giving a lot of seminars and webinars trying to inform people on how school financing works in Wisconsin. And we are a member, Salem School District is a member. When I remember it, I'll send it to you, but really informative, succinct information on how to explain it. They have like a 3-minute video. It's really informative.
All right, let's take a look at the treasurer's report.
Okay, I will present the treasurer's report dated August 2024. I'll read the ending balance for each of our accounts. CSB operating account with a balance of $1,025,032.68. The flex account with a balance of $53,048.32. Petty cash with a balance of $300. LGIP with a balance of $1,864,996.06. WISC with a balance of $6,547,358.43. For a grand cash and investment asset total of $9,490,735.49. And a Fund 10 and 27 asset total of $1,865,105.87. I'll present the payment of accounts payable bills dated August 1st through August 31st, 2024. This includes paper checks numbered 72771 to 72804. Wire transfer checks numbered 2024-00071 to 2024-00152. ACH checks numbered 2425-00003 to 2425-0004 for a total of $1,948,514.87. Back to you.
Any questions on the treasurer's report or the payment of accounts payable bills? Nicole? Thank you.
For the revenue report, there's not a lot of revenue that comes in July and August, as you can see. One of the things we did get this past August, we did receive our final property tax payment for August. However, that's obviously put towards, that counts as revenue for the 23-24 year. It did obviously bring up our Fund 10 balance though, so I just want to point that out. And then on the expense side, again, most of this is done by salary and benefits. If you do look at the tech and software services, you'll notice a decrease from last August to this August by about 80,000. A couple of those reasons were because there were some software services that we didn't renew for this year, and a couple of those bills that were paid for in August 2023, we're still waiting for invoices, and those will probably come in September. So, but that's really all we have for our expense side, so.
Those software pack, like things, those were all things like that we tried out last year.
Yeah, so for example, one of them
It
was
wasn't
like,
showing any grade.
exactly, so,
Does it help?
yeah.
Any questions at all about that? All right, and we have the minutes of the regular school board meeting. Can I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
I move to approve the consent agenda items A to C as presented.
Underneath the blue line.
So moved. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. And we have no public comments this evening. All right.
All right.
So whereas last year we had student presentations every month, this year we may have some student recognition celebration, but we've asked our staff to come and give some updates on a regular basis so you can get a window into what the teachers that you've hired are doing and the support counselors and everybody. Okay. Yep, I got it right here.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry.
Am I allowed to click?
Do you want to drive?
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you. Thank you.
I click every time I take a step.
Okay. Okay, hi everybody. My name is Anna Ambrose. I am the elementary school counselor at Salem. I have been here for 6 years. This is my 6th year, and I work with grades 4K through 5th grade here. And I'm here to talk about social and emotional learning, kind of what that looks like in our school district. We're going to start off by talking about kind of what our philosophy is, our Tier 1 curriculum that we're using this year, how we pull data for different tiered interventions, and then what those interventions look like from our student support team. So I obviously don't do this alone. I'm super excited to be here and talk to you guys today, but I work with an incredible team. So the school counselors that are working with me are Judy Richter. She's our middle school counselor for 6th through 8th. And then we also have Allie Carney, who is going to be a part-time counselor this year. So she's here Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And she is a prior teacher here and did her practicum with me when she was in school for counseling, and she's wonderful. We also have our school psychologists, James Jensen and Kate Flynn. And all of us really work together on all things social emotional learning and mental health in the district. So I first want to kind of start by talking about our theme for the year. I think that this touched a lot of us, and together we can build a solid community of people who trust one another and can get through really difficult things from time to time. But I wanted to speak on Jamie Cases's presentation earlier in August during our PD, and I just thought his presentation was absolutely amazing. I know a lot of you guys were there for that, and that's amazing. So he really talked about building a positive culture for not only staff, but our students, and kind of what that looks like. And so some of the things that really stood out to me as a counselor and as someone who works with feelings every day is that we don't want to be giving up on children. Every kid needs that champion who's going to be there for them. And just kind of figuring out what your framework is as an educator. And that's something I feel like I start over and think about every single year since I've started. But if we can have a good philosophy on children and have really strong beliefs, I think our framework kind of comes from that. So I wanted to start by talking about my philosophy with kids. When I think about children and being able to work with them every day, I always remind myself that kids are just small humans, and all of us go through a very broad range of emotions every single day. And so it would be really great if kids could show up like this every day. Or that. Oh my gosh, my teacher's so funny. Everything she says is perfect. Oh, I just love learning. Don't you love learning? I am a perfect little angel. I don't do anything wrong. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited for our extra recess today. Now, and this is my daughter. I'm allowed to show her face, I promise. But it would be great if kids showed up with those emotions every single day, but as we know, as human beings ourselves, we experience a lot of emotions, and we, as educators, have to be prepared for all of them, like this, or emotions like this, or this, or this. I promise I just made her eat some broccoli. It's okay. Or this. Or that. Or that. Oh, God, she's really upset I made her wear a life jacket on the lake. And believe it or not, all those feelings came from one very tiny human. And just imagine that times 900 when we're at school every single day. So kids are going to be going through every single range, pretty much every single day. We have to be ready to work with those, good or bad, and just keep reminding ourselves that they are small human beings, and everyone at Salem deserves to be treated with respect and value, and they need to know their worth. So, in thinking about that, we have to have a philosophy that we stand for, and I know that our team has been following the work of Ross Green since I really started here. He is a psychologist that's been working with children and families, specifically on behavior, for the last 30 plus years, and he's the author of so many incredible books. But his biggest philosophy on kids is kids do well when they can, not when they want to. Kids do well when they have the skills to do well. They don't do well just because they're motivated enough or because they've been told to do the expectation 1,000 times. Kids do well when they have the skills to do well. And every child has that innate want to do well, to feel like they belong, to be accepted by their peers and the adults that teach them. And just like every human being does, all of us show up to work with the skills that we have, and we're doing the best we can every single day. And so I just always turn back to that philosophy of kids do well when they can, and if they're not doing well, it means that something is getting in their way. And if our job as educators is to figure out what is getting in their way and teach them those skills so that they can be more successful. So for me, I just look at social emotional learning very similarly to reading or math, and just making sure that we know kids do well when they can, when they have the skills. So that kind of brings me to kind of a framework of making sure that we're teaching the entire child. So just like standards that teachers are teaching to in their academic standards, we have social and emotional learning standards through the DPI of Wisconsin. And those are developmentally split from 4K up until 12th grade. And they're split into 3 main categories, those standards. So we focus highly on emotional development, which is understanding and managing one's emotions. Self-concept, so developing your self-identity and recognizing yourself as a lifelong learner. So kind of just having those like resilience skills, executive functioning, so being able to plan and organize and focus your attention. And then that social competency piece, establishing and maintaining good relationships by respecting others, practicing social skills, and making responsible decisions, and connecting to your overall community. So in order to kind of meet those standards, we are following a multi-level system of support. So we have Tier 1, which is our Character Strong and Purposeful People curriculum that we are doing in all grades 5K through 8th. But 4K is also doing some social and emotional learning using those zones of regulation and Bouncy the service dog. Our Tier 2 interventions are more of those classroom interventions that only some kids need, and teachers are trained in 3 different Tier 2 interventions that we trained them in last year. And then Tier 3 are those for a smaller group of students who might need those more research-based small group setting to learn some of those social and emotional skills. So I will kind of go through those more in depth. So for our Tier 1 curriculum, we have started using Character Strong and Purposeful People this year. Overall, 5K through 8th grade, we're going to be celebrating some monthly themes. So every single month, we're going to be looking at a new character trait. I'm kind of planning some small school-wide activities that go along with that. So whether it's a bulletin board or a video for the whole school to watch, or a moment of silence for the whole school, whatever those are. We're going to be sending out monthly flyers and some newsletters so that parents know kind of what the character trait is and ways to incorporate that at home. And we're going to have a lot more information to come on that curriculum during curriculum night. Our weekly lessons are in the classroom, and those are led by the classroom teacher. Those are typically Tuesday mornings. Sometimes specials get in the way, so we have to shift it once in a while, but typically Tuesday mornings for the entire school, which is awesome. And then K through 5 and 6 through 8 are structured a little bit differently, so we're going to go over that. So for Purposeful People, that's our K through 5 program. It's all through Character Strong, but they're just labeled differently. So for our Purposeful People lessons, there's 5 different aspects to those lessons. We have the start portion, which is kind of just introducing the topic, and it usually includes like a sing-along or a video. There's the connect, which is just community building activities, games to play with your kids, circle conversations, things like that. The grow is kind of the bulk of the lesson. That's the slideshow activity. It'll tell you the materials you need, and then there's typically a group or a partner activity. Then there's respond, which is just different emotional regulation strategies, brain breaks, mindfulness, things of that sort that they can practice in the classroom. And then exit, which is just reflecting on what they have learned that week. So they will do most of their lesson on Tuesday. They do their start and the grow on Tuesdays. And then all other days during morning meeting, they're just encouraged to use the other aspects of these lessons to kind of build community and practice different strategies throughout the year. All right, and then Character Strong is our middle school curriculum. Judy Richter, the middle school counselor, has been working with teachers on this as well. But they're gonna be doing 25 sessions throughout the school year of Character Strong. And then they're also doing an academic and career planning lesson every month. So again, weekly on Tuesdays, they're gonna be doing those lessons. A big part of the middle school lessons is doing character dares, which is just kind of each week, they're invited to participate in some type of dare that reflects the character trait of the month. So it could be something like, you know, give a compliment to a younger kid you see in the hallway, something like that, just so that kids are encouraged to kind of live out these character traits throughout the day. Okay. This part doesn't look as fun. No, it is. Okay, so I wanted to talk about how we identify students for the smaller tiers of groups, our tier 2 and our tier 3 programs and groups that we do at Salem. So we are looking at right now our Panorama data from the spring of 2024, so last spring. Panorama is the social and emotional learning screener that we kind of use to gear where our kids are at on social and emotional learning skills. Those are all based on the SEL standards through DPI, and we kind of look at where they are in terms of their skills and identify students who are in the yellow or the red. I could probably talk for an hour on what that looks like and the details of Panorama, which I'd be happy to another day. But the students who fall into the yellow are typically kids that we would identify for tier 2 interventions. And again, those are the smaller classroom interventions like Class Pass or 2x10. And it's a lot of like, maybe they have a chart of their day so that it's predictable and they work towards a goal or a reward. 2x10 is maybe for students who need help building better connections with the adults in their building. So you're spending 2 minutes a day for 10 straight days only talking about non-academic things with that student and building that relationship. And then Class Pass is kind of allowing students to take a break. They get like a certain amount of tickets a day that they can use to take a break. And if they don't use those and they participate, they can turn them in for rewards and things like that. So that would be kind of our tier 2 structure. Our tier 3 structure is research-based small groups, typically ran by the school counselor, myself, Ms. Richter, or our school psychologist. And those are very targeted interventions geared towards specific goals that those students need to kind of grow their skills in. And those are, they range from a variety of different targets, but we kind of always make sure that we're going toward the standard. We have 3 different like common assessments we use for that planning. So we are either assessing them on social skills, emotional regulation, or that executive functioning piece, which kind of goes back to the 3 different categories of the standards. So other data that we use to identify the SEL tiers is behavioral data. So we make sure that we're always looking at those office discipline referrals, and we meet bi-weekly as a student services team to make sure we're talking about a lot of those things. And we also have student service team referral forms. So every teacher is invited to fill in one of those forms. If they're noticing concerns about a student, they think they have some lagging skills in social emotional learning, they can fill out that SST referral form and just give us some basic information. How are they doing in academics? What concerns are you seeing? Just asking for some general information. They fill that out, and then that teacher is invited to our student services team meeting so we can plan collaboratively with that teacher and kind of decide as a team what intervention would be the best for that student. And then the last data point that we use for identifying tiers is attendance. So the assistant principals and Allie Carney, our part-time counselor, are going to be meeting once a week to kind of go over that attendance data, and kids who hit a certain amount of absences, we'll kind of flag them for potential attendance interventions throughout the year. Okay, so a couple ways those tier 3 interventions are rolled out. Step 1 is that we look at Panorama scores, decide if they can benefit from one of the 3 categories. Step 2, we choose an intervention or curriculum or program that targets that specific skill. Step 3, we always make sure that in addition to their panorama score, we're collecting pre and post intervention data, and also trying to look at like if they had a lot of office discipline referrals before group, what does that look like after? We notify the families, send materials home throughout the course of that intervention. And then step 4 is just making sure we're collecting that post data to evaluate the effectiveness of that intervention and then kind of determining next steps after that. Okay, that was a lot. In a nutshell, I think our team is just working really hard to ensure that we're making data-based decisions about students' social and emotional learning skills. We want to make sure that we're treating it similarly to how we are academic skills, and focusing on very specific things we want our students to be working on, but also doing it in a really supportive way so that teachers are involved in the process, and all of us are working together. It's something I'm super passionate about. I love this work. I love what I do. And I'm excited because this is kind of the first year that we have that solid Tier 1 curriculum, and we're going to get to see all the tiers working together to support students and staff. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I just have a question. If you could, with a snap of your fingers, add something to what you're already doing, what your team is doing, everyone's doing in the area of student services, irrespective of cost, people, what might it be?
I can snap my finger and add something.
The Porsche 911.
Yeah. I think there's always room for more people to be working on this type of work. So I think if I could snap my finger and like start a group or a committee of like teachers and like everyone in the school who all is just working on this kind of stuff would be awesome, because I think we meet as a team, but sometimes we're missing the consistent meetings with teachers and with other staff in the building and parents and all that. So I think if I could snap my fingers and just like have a team involving so many people in our community to talk about this stuff, that would be a dream. That would be really
Okay,
cool.
very good. Thanks.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Yes.
Sorry. One, thank you. This is great. Where do you think, what do you think the biggest deficiency that you see in our students in those skills, right? In the DPI skills that are identified? Like, where do you, I know it's hard to categorize 900 kids K-8, or do you see in certain, grade levels,
Grade
it's
levels,
this,
yeah.
and the
I think
grade level it's
for
this?
me, for the really little ones, and I've been working with the same grades the whole time I've been here. With the littles, I think knowing a language and having communication skills to identify those feelings is always my number one. You can look at all the different social emotional learning standards, but if they don't have that, you can't build off of that. So for me, that's the first thing I look at is, are they able to identify the emotions? Are they able to look at a feeling picture and know what that person is feeling? And I feel like when we see a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, we just assume, of course they know what feelings are, and they don't. We show them a picture and they're like, oh, they're sad, and they're actually scared or whatever it is. So I think teaching the recognition of emotions is probably the thing that I teach the most in those younger grades. But in the older grades, I would want to lean on Ms. Richter for that, because she works with the middle school students. Those intermediate grade levels, I would say probably social skills, because they're learning how to identify their emotions. They're just starting to use those coping skills independently. But now how do I bring that into my social situations and gain that perspective taking and all of that? So,
Thanks.
yeah.
Last question. This is great work. Love it. Needed in schools. How, okay, so this is year 1 of this kind of a robust tier 1 intervention for students. How do we avoid it becoming in isolation, right? So I think the pendulum is, you've seen it in your 6 years of today's SEL day, right? And your kids come home and they're like, we did SEL day today. How do you avoid where it's not part of our other essential standards? And
Yeah, I think a part of it is just making sure it's incorporated into your day every day. And I think that was why we were so drawn to Character Strong, is because it was a whole month focusing on this. And for the younger kids up to 5th grade, I loved that it was broken up into 5 sections, because it was like, okay, we can do this every single day. This doesn't need to be Tuesday's our SEL day and then we forget about it. And so I think being able to incorporate it into academics, because that's the dream, is being able to have SEL incorporated into every single subject. But I think starting with a curriculum that's evidence-based is a huge way to start, so that all the kids are getting the same message. And then we can start little by little working in, okay, how are you building respect for September into your math lesson today? How are you building it into, social studies, whatever. I think that is kind of how you don't create silos. Right. Yeah. Because it is so much a part of academics. It's so related, so.
Thank you.
Okay, very good, thanks so much. Thank you.
What?
Are you sticking around for the rest of the
I
meeting?
probably should get back to that cranky toddler. So,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you.
I'm gonna steal back though.
Oh yeah, you can drive now. Here you go.
Unless you want to run the rest of this meeting.
I'm good.
She's gonna go back to the sweet toddler.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Okay. All right, Christy. So each year we need to present to the board our seclusion and
Each year this goes to DPI, it goes in front of the school board. As a reminder, this includes all schools that we have students at, and so you can see last year we had no seclusions, and then 7 incidents of restraint for all students.
So when you say all schools, you're like both in placement and out placement?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And that 7 could be the same particular student, right?
There were 2 students involved. Yep.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christy.
Thanks for coming out for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you, for me, give me more detail behind seclusion? What exactly that means?
Chris, are you good? Yeah.
For seclusion.
Yeah, like there's because there is some historical context that we probably all have, so obviously.
Sure, so
Yeah.
seclusion is when we're blocking exits, and so students are trying to get out, but we're blocking exits, so they don't have a path to exit, is basically what seclusion would be.
Okay. Like you as a person are blocking the exit, is that what you're saying?
It
Okay.
could be
So they're trying to leave?
correct.
Okay,
And they don't have an exit out.
okay.
And those involved have to go through specialized training, I believe, right, to do that
Yes.
certain thing. So there's
Yeah.
certain individuals that you call when those events happen to
Sure.
come by. Yeah.
There is a certification process that our staff go through if they are involved in these situations.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was thinking, it looked like your process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all
I mean,
like-
I am, I guess obviously the number of incidents of physical restraint has gone down so much. Why, what's the biggest factor for that?
Part of this comes from having students in multiple placements. So it may not all be like within our building. So it could be other placements. So
Okay.
anytime, because they are our student, they must report to us if there is a restraint or seclusion. And that's just based on DPI. DPI requires all of that reporting. So after each occurrence, we fill out a report, or the school that was involved fills out a report so that it's documented. There's a timeline in terms of connecting with parents, if it's a student with a disability, having an IEP review. So there's a bunch of different factors involved in that.
But so did those line you're talking about, it really could be a variety of reasons that we actually don't even, if they're
Like
not
there's no,
here.
it wasn't a new procedure or,
It could be a kid
It could be a little,
graduated,
yeah.
like,
oh,
It could be that
okay.
as well.
right, or is not enrolled in our district anymore.
There could be a variety of things. I would say, yes, there's different things we're putting in place. We have I would say, our continuum of care is getting stronger and stronger for our students.
Right.
That might be helping, but I don't think that would necessarily could say it's causal because not all these friends are ours.
Right, and also I'm looking at the incidents, and
Yeah.
I should just be looking at the students. Right, like you're saying that
The number doesn't
particular,
represent the amount.
Right.
This could
Okay.
all be essentially one student.
Correct, yeah,
right, okay.
And to your point, like, there are things like
yes,
that happen before it gets to this point, right,
yeah, okay,
that we don't report on.
yep.
Thank you. We have no committee reports. Ooh, we have a full October.
Yeah. All right, I just wanted to clarify on the budget hearing for this one. Are we okay with it being at 5 and then our regular meeting at 6? Because we have budget and annual, we're trying to get it more, they used to be like, we used to give like 2 hours, then we got it to 90 minutes.
Depending on how many people you get, I sometimes think an hour is too long, to be fair.
Right,
So, yeah, but
I think we could defer to Ryan. What are your thoughts on, I mean, I know it's a month out and.
Yeah, I think 5's fine. Yeah.
You're saying, do you think we go 5:30?
I think 5:15, like last year, I think what we had like,
5:15. I can do 5:15.
yeah, I think there was like,
Later, a little better.
I think last year there was 2 people. No, last year there was none.
No,
It was
that's
just
the
us.
0.
Yeah.
The year before we did too.
The year before we had 2, and then the year prior to that, there was a little bit more of a group, but
Yeah.
that was post everything crazy,
Right.
but, yeah.
5:15, good?
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Oh, it's done.
All right, can I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
We adjourn the meeting at 6:35.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.